to a constitutional scholar, Mr. Raskin from Maryland.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much, and I want to thank the Majority Leader for his very thoughtful comments, and also my friend Mr. Davis for what he has said today. I actually want to pick up with something that Mr. Davis just said, where he said that the rule threatens a fundamental change of Congress and the institution. And I think it's the coronavirus that has already fundamentally changed this institution and Congress, just as it has fundamentally changed the government of the United States, society, culture, economics. We have 82,000 of our fellow citizens who have died already. We have tens of millions who've been thrown out of work. We have seen massive shutdowns in the economy. So it's the coronavirus that's transforming everything. We need to respond, as my friend from Colorado, Mr. Perlmutter, says, this is all about the continuity of government. What are we supposed to be doing? Well, it's all summed up in one sentence in the preamble of the Constitution. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and preserve to ourselves and our posterity the blessings of liberty, do hereby ordain and establish the Constitution. And the very next line says that all legislative powers belong to the Congress of the United States. The sovereign power of the people to create the Constitution and the government flowed immediately to us in Congress and gave us the power to fix the rules of our own proceedings, consistent with particular constitutional parameters, taking the ayes and the nays. There's nothing in this rule that violates the constitutional requirement of taking the ayes and the nays. Consistent with the quorum requirement, there's nothing in this rule that offends the constitutional quorum requirement. If some people object to the use of the proxy, well, let me say this first about the proxy rule, because I would have gone all the way with the technological rule, but the proxy rule is perfectly constitutional. And I found the conversation between Mr. Cole and Majority Leader Hoyer uplifting on both the process and the substance, because they agreed that there was a real effort to try to arrive at a bipartisan judgment, and sometimes it just doesn't work, and that's why we have voting. And the framers of the Constitution understood that. We even have voting on the Supreme Court, where they're just interpreting particular language. But in the final analysis, if you can't agree unanimously, you vote. That's how we do it in democracy. And so the process was one where there was a good faith effort on the part of Democrats. There was a good faith effort on the part of Republicans. But the majority felt that we need to put a rule in place, an emergency rule, to deal with this terrible crisis that the country is in. And on the substance, I think I also heard them both agree that this is a rule that doesn't benefit the D's at the expense of the R's or the R's at the expense of the D's. It's just a rule that allows Congress to continue to meet and to function. That's what it's all about. So for me, and I was asked about it by members of the staff and by the chairman, and although I favored moving towards a technological, voting by distance technology solution, I said that the proxy voting is fine so long as the person who is the proxy exercises no discretion and no judgment. They're acting like a letter carrier. They are delivering a letter. That's all. And I have both a constitutional vested interest in that, and I have a personal vested interest in that because I live 25 minutes away from the Capitol. These days it's more like 18 minutes, and members know that. So not only do I know I will be called, I've already been called by members saying, if it comes to this and we pass this, would you be willing? And these are members who have expressed some of the fears that our distinguished colleague from California has expressed. It's people who have members of their family who are medically vulnerable. It's people who are not sure the transportation will be working for them. But I tell you that and I believe that every member of this body who is asked to be a proxy will act in utter 100% good faith, whether it is a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. I think we might have a couple of those now. Everyone will act in strict accordance with the instructions of the person who asks them to cast their vote for them. And not only that, Mr. Hoyer properly reminds us that it's a matter of public record. Everybody's going to be able to watch it. It's a perfectly transparent process, and if there's any departure from it, the member whose vote is miscast will know immediately and will be able to call and protest and get it changed. And I cannot believe that anybody in this body would think it's not a violation of Rule 1 of our Code of Official Conduct to deliberately miscast a vote, which it says that a member shall behave at all times in a manner that shall reflect creditably on the House. Would anybody think that it reflects credibly on the House to deliberately miscast a vote in the proxy rule adopted, I hope, today? I don't think so. But having said that, my reluctance is being a local member and knowing that, I think about Romeo and Juliet and how one of the major themes in Shakespeare is failed communication. The whole plot in Romeo and Juliet turns on the failure of Friar Lawrence to get Friar John to deliver the message to Romeo that Juliet has just taken a sleeping potion. She's not really dead, remember? But Friar John never delivered the letter. Why? Because he was stuck inside because of a plague, because of a pandemic, and he couldn't get the message to Romeo. So he finds Juliet, he thinks that she's dead, he commits suicide, and then she commits suicide. So things go wrong. Now, things go wrong with technology, too. I understand that. But I do think that the committees will be able to operate very well under this rule, and I think over the last several weeks, by necessity, the Congress of the United States, like the rest of the country, has gotten a lot of practice on how to use Zoom and Teams and all of these different technologies. And again, those are open, those are public, they're transparent, and people know if there's funny business afoot. I do think that's the direction ultimately we have to get to, and if I am called upon to be a proxy, I will do my very best to get here on time, to be here, and to act absolutely consistently with the instructions I've been given. But my real fear is just people not making it for some reason. And that's my only hesitation about it. But look, we're living in a dramatically imperfect world right now, and I'm very happy to support this rule. I think that the Constitution demands it. The Constitution, Justice Jackson said, is not a suicide pact. We don't have to go down the drain together. We can make the Constitution work. There's a wonderful passage from Jefferson where he said he deplores the sanctimonious reverence with which some people regard the way things were back when the Constitution was written. He said that all of us have the same potential wisdom and knowledge of the founders, but we have something they don't have, which is the experience of living in our own times. And we have to adjust our practices, our policies, and our institutions to the requirements of our own time. And that's why I'm very happy to support this resolution. I yield back.
Thank you.